Everyone, let's get started with February 2021 mechanics paper M1, which is paper number 4. Let's look at the first question. The first question, let's read it thoroughly. The first question is about two particles P and Q of masses 0.2 kg and 0.3 kg respectively are free to move in a horizontal straight line. So the first thing that needs to be underlined is that the masses of P and Q, and they are free to move in a horizontal straight line on a smooth horizontal plane. So nothing to do with friction or resistance or anything like that. Particle P is projected towards Q with a speed of 0.5 meter per second. At the same instant, Q is projected towards P with a speed of 1 meter per second. Later on, what happens? Q comes to rest in the resulting collision. Find the speed of P after the collision. Now, let me label this question. This is February 2021, and this is mechanics paper. So this is paper 4. And there is only one variant, which is variant 1-2. Now, when we are talking about two particles, this is before and this is after. First of all, this question is about momentum. There is a particle P, there is a particle Q, there is a particle P, there is a particle Q. This is P, this is Q, this is P, this is Q. Label it very, very well. Initially, P is projected towards Q and Q is projected towards P. So look at the arrowheads. They are pointing in opposite direction. The velocity in the right-hand side direction, I am giving it a positive sign. So this is 0.5 meter per second. And this one, 1 meter per second, is like this. But in calculation, because of the arrowhead, this will be taken as negative. Afterwards, what happened? We don't know what is the direction in which P is going. So I'll simply write V meter per second. And Q came to rest. We are looking for the speed of P after the collision. So now the working is momentum before collision is the same thing as momentum after collision. So P is 0.2 kg. This is 0.3 kg. This is 0.2 kg. This is 0.3 kg. Simple working, very, very simple. This is 0.2 into 0.5 plus 0.3 multiplied by -1. This is the main thing. This negative sign, all the marks are for this particular thing. That's where people will trip over and make a mistake. This is 0.2 multiplied by V. This is 0.2 into 0.5, that's 0.01. This is negative 0.3. This is 0.2 V. And this comes out to be 0.3 minus, that's not 0.01, my bad, that is 0.1. Okay. So this is 0.2 into 0.5 is 0.1. So this is negative 0.2 divided by 0.2 equals to V. Therefore, V comes out to be 1 meter per second with a negative sign. That means particle P has changed direction. So this particle P has changed direction and it's moving in the other side. So P has changed direction because that's what the negative sign is saying. And it's moving with a speed of 1 meter per second to the left. Initially, according to our diagram, it was going to the right. Now it's moving in the opposite direction. Let's look at this question of February 2021. This is the second question. The question is about a car traveling. A car of mass 1400 kg is traveling at a constant speed up a hill inclined at an angle alpha to be horizontal, where sine alpha is such and such. So now few things needs to be underlined. And this is one of them. The mass 1400 kg up a straight hill inclined at alpha to the horizontal. So this is what I'm underlining, where sine alpha is 0.1. And this looks like a question of work, energy, power. Over here, they are talking about constant speed. There is a constant resistive force of magnitude 600 Newton. The power of the car's engine is 22.5 kilowatt, 22,500 watts. Show that the speed of the car is 11.25 meter per second. If you want to, you can draw a small diagram, something like this, and you can say this is a straight hill like this. This is the inclined plane, and you would draw a particle on it, something like this. This is that particular car, and let me draw it again. There is a forward force that is provided by the engine. There are two backward forces. One will be the resistive force and the other would be the weight component. So let's start labeling. So let me make this marker a bit thicker. And this is a forward force. This is power over velocity. So this is 22,500 divided by velocity. That is what we are going to calculate. And this is 0 meter per second square. There is no acceleration because it's traveling at constant speed. There is a resistive force that is of 600 Newton. This angle is alpha. This weight component is acting down, which is mg sine alpha. So since it's not moving up, it's not accelerating. So therefore 22,500 divided by V minus 600 minus 1400 into 10 into sine alpha is equals to mass into acceleration, which is 0. In other words, the upward forces should equal the sum of the downward forces. And when we are going to calculate this, V will come out to be 11.25 meters per second. That is the first part. Let's move to the second part. What does it say? Now it says the car is moving with a speed of 11.25, comes to a section of a hill which is inclined at 2 degrees to the horizontal. So again, another inclined section, but now the angle is different. So now, of course, these diagrams are a bit exaggerated. This is 2 degrees. And it says the power and the resistance force do not change. Find the initial acceleration of the car. So draw a diagram again. And this time I'm drawing this thing. This is the car. There is a forward force upwards. There are two backward forces as usual. This is 22,500 divided by 11.25. This is 600. This one is mg sine theta. That's 1400 into 10 into sine of 2 degrees. And initial acceleration A is what we are looking for. So therefore 22,500 divided by 11.25 minus 600 minus 1400 into 10 into sine of 2 degrees is equals to mass into acceleration. And we do the calculation using a calculator definitely. And this comes out to be 0.651 meter per second square. So that was a basic question regarding, it's not actually about energy as such. It's not about work. It's basically a question about power. And the definition of power is rate of work done. Power is work done divided by time. So since power is force into velocity, which definition have we used? This particular definition. Therefore, this force is power over velocity. Let's look at this question of February 2021, variant 1-2. There is only one variant in February. And this question is about, I think, something to do with resultant or something to do with equilibrium. Now, the thing is, when you look at a question, you technically stereotype a question. It looks like either a resultant or an equilibrium, and that is usually the case. but of course, you have to read it thoroughly. There are some concepts that are already stuck in your head. So that is good. That shows how much practice have you done. But it doesn't mean that you should not read the question carefully. So let me read it. The question says, a particle Q of mass 0.2 kg, this is Q, this is 0.2 kg, so this would be 0.2 g, held in equilibrium. So now this is the keyword, that is equilibrium, by two forces, by two light inextensible PQ and QR. So there is a string PQ and there is a string QR. These are two strings. So now if I label the first string, this one, as T1, and this I have labeled as T2. Now we know that we can label tension in both ways. It's a matter of perspective. If I look at this diagram, what is stopping Q from falling down? T1. So T1 is acting up. What is trying to pull Q1 down? That is T2. So T2 is labeled downwards. The angles are already given. Find the tension in the two string. So that is the question in this form. So technically, it's a question of equilibrium. And of course, the angles are given. And the way that I teach is that I am interested in the angle with the horizontal, which is 60 and 30 in this case. So that I know where to label which part. So therefore, if I label this thing, this is a horizontal component this way. This is another horizontal component this way. There is a vertical component upwards. Let me draw it more straighter. It's not just coming out to be. And there is a vertical component downward. And there should be another vertical component. That should be the weight that should be acting downwards. Okay. So now this is T1 cosine 60. The magic lies in labeling the diagram properly, neatly. This one is T1 sine 60. This one is T2 cosine 30. This one is T2 sine 30. And this is the weight, that is 0.2 g. So everything is labeled properly. And I can simply make two equations for horizontal forces. I'll say T1 cosine 60 is equals to T2 cosine 30. The examiner has not specified anything in particular about working in the exact form or in decimals, since the angles are such that I can work in the exact form. So let me try it out initially. Cosine 60 is half and cosine 30 is root 3 over 2. So the 2 cancels out. And what do I get? T1 is equals to T2 multiplied by root 3. That is the first equation that I get. The second equation, T1 sine 60 is upwards. T2 sine 30 is down. Plus 0.2 into 10, which is 2. That is also acting down. So this is T1 and sine 60 is root 3 over 2. T2 sine 30 is 1 over 2 plus 2. Multiply both sides by 2. What do I get? T1 multiplied by root 3. This is T2 multiplied by 1. And this is 2 into 2, which is 4. That is the second equation. So this is the second equation. This is the first equation. T1 can be substituted by T2 root 3. But T1 is T2 multiplied with root 3. So therefore, T1 is T2. This is root 3. And this is again a root 3, which is already there. This is T2 plus 4. And I think it's working out beautifully. This is 3T2 is equals to T2 plus 4. And this is 2T2 is equals to 4. Therefore, T2 comes out to be 2 Newton. Okay? So the value of T2 is coming out to be 2 Newton. What was T2? T2 was the tension in this part of the string, which is RQ. And similarly, last but not the least, T1 is T2 multiplied by root 3. that is 2 multiplied by root 3, and leave the answer in the exact form. So I'm a big fan of working in the exact form. If anyone wants to work in decimals, that's perfectly fine. So that's how you do this particular question. Let's look at this question that is about kinematics. Kinematics related with constant acceleration. This is February 2021 paper. And in this question, what do we see? First, I'll focus on the diagram. Straight line portions are there. There are 7 of them. Some area under the graph is above the x-axis. The other area is below the x-axis. It's a velocity time graph, and all the different time slots are being labeled. The maximum velocity is given. This maximum velocity in the other direction is not given. Now let's read this thing. The question says, an elevator moves vertically, supported by a cable. Now, vertically, that means it's either going to go up or go down. Supported by a cable, that means some kind of tension question might be there. The diagram shows a VT graph which models the motion of the elevator. The graph consists of 7 straight line segments, which we have already seen. The elevator accelerates upwards from rest to a speed of 2 over a period of 1.5 seconds, then travels at the speed for 4.5 before decelerating to rest over a period of 1 second. This is this part, this part, this part, and this part. This is the first part that they have written. So that is about this part. This paragraph relates to the area above the x-axis. The elevator then remains at rest for 6 seconds before accelerating to a speed of v downwards over a period of 2 seconds. So this is acceleration downwards. And then it says, it then travels at the speed for a period of 5 seconds, from 15 to 20, that's 5 seconds, before decelerating to rest over a period of 1.5 seconds. So basically, it's a journey of moving up and moving down. The very first part, find the acceleration of the car during the first 1.5 seconds. Given that the elevator starts and finishes its journey on the ground floor, V. And then something about Newton's law of motion that we will study later. During the first 1.5 seconds, that is basic working. So therefore, for the first part, that is part A, acceleration is change in velocity, which is 2, change in time, which is 1.5. Again, I'll be working in the exact form. That is 2 divided by 3 over 2. That is 2 multiplied by 2/3, which comes out to be 4 over 3, or 1 over 3 meter per second square with a positive sign, because that was acceleration. Given that the elevator starts and finishes its journey on the ground floor, find V. That means the displacement is 0. That means area above x-axis should equal area below x-axis. Got the idea? So area above the x-axis, that is this, that's a trapezium. So this area, if I call this whole region as 1, that is half. Sum of parallel sides, so 0 till 7, that is one side. This side is 1.5 till 6, that is 4.5, multiplied by height, which is 2. This is the first part. This region, that is the second one. Area of this region, that is half, sum of parallel sides. So 13 till 21.5, that is 6.5. This is one side. The other side is 15 till 20, that is 5. And this height is V. You don't have to take the negative sign because you're talking in terms of area. This is V. So therefore, what will you say? You will say area of 2 is the same thing as area of 1. You will do the calculation, the half and all these things would cancel out, and that will give you some particular value for V. So that is the working for this part. Now let's move on to the next part. Now it says the combined weight of the elevator and the passenger on its upward journey is 1500 kg. Assuming there is no resistance to motion, find the tension in the elevator cable on its upward journey when the elevator is descending. Now, this part, that is the upward journey. This is the upward journey. This is the downward journey. Got the idea? Now, this is the deceleration part in the upward journey. Let me get that straight. Deacceleration, deceleration, retardation, negative acceleration. So therefore, this deceleration is 2 divided by 1 with a negative sign. So that is -2 meter per second square. This is needed for part 3 or C. That is part C. This is what is needed. Now, the concept is like this. A particle, this is one particle, and this is moving up, and this is down. And when it's moving up, this one, the tension is pulling it up, weight is pulling it down. This is 1500 into G. This is tension. It's moving up, but its acceleration is -2 meter per second square. So the way that I teach is that as long as it's moving up, the upward force is more than the downward force, but eventually it will come out to be lesser because of the negative acceleration. So that is the convention that we use. Upward force minus the weight, that is equals to mass into acceleration, which is -2. So when we do the calculation, T minus 15,000 is 1500 into 2, which is 3000. So T comes out to be 12,000 Newton. That is the tension in the cable. That is happening when it's moving up but decelerating. That is the working for this one. Let's look at question number 5, February 2021 paper. A block of mass 5 kg is pulled along a rough horizontal floor. Now, labeling is the crucial part to reading any particular question. It's a 5 kg mass. This is not weight, this is mass. Pulled along a rough horizontal floor by a force of magnitude X Newton, acting at 30 degrees above the horizontal. And then you can also see the same info, the same universal truth written in the diagram. The block starts from rest, travels 2 meters in the first 5 seconds of its motion. Find the acceleration of the block. Now, this question is about kinematics, and it's about friction, it's about forces and everything to do with that. So V is equals to U plus AT. S is equals to UT plus half AT square. V square is equals to U square plus 2AS. Now, which is the applicable equation for us? It starts from rest. It travels for 2 meters in the first 5 seconds. So therefore, if I look closely, this is the equation that is applicable for me. So therefore, S is equals to UT. The UT disappears, and this is half AT square in this context. So this is 2, this is half. A is what we are looking for, and T square, that is 5 square. So 2 into 2 is 4. A is 4 over 25 in fraction, which can also be written as 0.16 meter per second square. That is the acceleration of this block. Now, the second part, given that the coefficient of friction between the block and the floor is 0.4, so the value of mu, which is the coefficient for friction, that's a symbol that we use, that is 0.4, find X. Now, what do I need to do? I need to resolve the forces. So first of all, there is a horizontal force this way, horizontal component of this force. This one is going this way. What else is there? There should be a normal reaction. What else? There should be a weight component acting down. So labeling is the essence of this particular question. That's the key to success. This is your R. This is mg, that is 5g. This is x cosine 30, and this one is x sine 30. Now, in any question which is related to friction, the first and foremost thing is to evaluate R, whether it will be a value or it could be in terms of another variable. For example, in this case, it could be x. So R plus x sine theta is equals to 5g. R plus x sine 30 is equals to 5g. R plus x multiplied by 0.5 is equals to 5 into 10, which is 50. R is equals to 50 minus 0.5x. Now, if I make this thing the subject of the equation, F max, actually not the subject, I've already made R the subject. F max is mu R, that is 0.4 into 50 minus 0.5x. So therefore, this is 20, and this would be 0.2x. That is the value for F max. Now it's accelerating, and this is the acceleration, which is 0.16 meter per second square. What is the force that will be slowing it down? Okay, so if I just erase this, and let me label a force over here, a green force like this, and this is your F max. That means x cosine 30 minus F max is equals to mass of the block, which is 5 kg, into acceleration. And acceleration is 0.16. So therefore, x, and this is 0.8660, minus F max, which is 20 minus 0.2x, is equals to 5 into 0.16. And you do the necessary calculation. Of course, you have to take care of the accuracy, work in 4 significant figures, final answer, give it to 3 significant figures. So now the question is not over yet. So how many marks have we earned so far? 2 marks over here, 4 marks over here, that is 6 marks. Let's read the question further. The block is now placed on part of a floor where the coefficient of friction between the block and the floor has a different value. Perfectly right with us. The value of x has changed to 25. So x is now 25. And the block is now in limiting equilibrium. Limiting equilibrium, what does it mean? It's at the verge of moving. Whenever friction is involved, that is called limiting equilibrium. Friction always opposes motion. Friction always acts parallel to the surface. Find the value of the block, find the value of the coefficient of friction between the block and this part of the floor. So if I copy this diagram, and let's see if I copy it, but then only the forces would come. So let me draw my own diagram. I'll be more comfortable with that. So therefore, this is the horizontal floor, and there is this particle, and then we have this force like this, making an angle of 30 degrees. So now I can go ahead and do the labeling. So this is 25 Newton. This is 30 degrees. I think everything else is the same. And the weight is still 5g. And this thing is R. And this thing is F max. And it's working for another 3 marks. So let me label some other forces over here. This is the horizontal component. This is the vertical component. Okay, let me draw the vertical as vertical, something like this. So therefore, this is 25 cosine 30. And this is a 25 sine 30. And this is R plus 25 sine 30 is equals to 5g, which is 50. And from here, you can calculate the value of R. And that would be easy to calculate. 50 minus 25 sine 30 is half. So 50 minus 12.5, that is 37.5 Newton. That's the value of R. And it's at the verge of moving. So therefore, 25 cos 30 is the same thing as F max. What is F max? That is mu R. What is mu? Mu is mu. That is what we are going to calculate into 37.5. And this is 25 multiplied by root 3 over 2. And it's up to you to leave the answer in the exact form or the decimal form. So that is perfectly fine. So hence you will find the value of mu. So that was a thoroughbred question regarding friction and forces and Newton's law and basic kinematics. Let's look at this question. This question is about kinematics, variable acceleration related to differentiation and integration. It says a particle moves in a straight line and it starts from rest from a fixed point O. Its velocity is given by this particular equation. Find the displacement of the particle from O when t is equal to 1. We know that if we integrate the velocity equation, we will get a displacement equation. So t squared minus 8t raised to power of 3 over 2 plus 10t. When I'll integrate it, this is t cubed over 3 minus 8 t raised to power of 3 over 2 plus 1, which is 5 over 2, division by 5 over 2, plus 10t square over 2 plus c. How will you evaluate c? It starts from rest at a fixed point O. Therefore, when t is 0, v is 0, s is 0 because the measurement is taken from O. So now s की वैल्यू 0 है, ये वाला 0 है, ये वाला 0 है, ये वाला 0 है, तो therefore c की वैल्यू भी 0 है. Therefore displacement की जो इक्वेशन है, that is 1/3 t cube or 5 over 2, so 2/5, so 2 8s are 16 over 5 t raised to power of 5 over 2 plus 5 t square और c तो 0 है. अब इसमें जब आप कहेंगे t की वैल्यू 1 है तो s की वैल्यू क्या हो जाएगी? 1/3 1 cube minus 16 over 5 1 raised to power of 5 over 2 plus 5 times 1 square. तो इन सब को जब आप इवैल्यूएट करेंगे तो आपको डिस्प्लेसमेंट आ जाएगी which comes out to be 2.13 meters, correct to 3 significant figures. अच्छा जी, ये भी हो गया. Straight forward question था, nothing special. So now let's move to the next part. Show that the minimum velocity of the particle is this much. Now, whenever they talk about minimum or maximum, they are talking about stationary points. And for stationary points, derivative should equal to 0. This is the first derivative. First derivative of anything should be equal to 0. They are talking about velocity. So the velocity equation is, I'm writing it again, t square minus 8t raised to power of 3 over 2, t square minus 8t raised to power of 3 over 2 plus 10t. That's the velocity equation. So therefore, acceleration is dv by dt. That is 2t minus 8 into half into t raised to power of half. Actually, this is 3 over 2 and this is half and this is 10. So this is 2t minus 2 1s are 2 4s are 4 3s are 12 minus 12 root t plus 10. So now this is a disguised quadratic equation. Okay? So this is a disguised quadratic equation which is part of P1 syllabus. So let m equals to root t. Therefore, m square is equals to t. So therefore, I'm equating it to 0 for stationary points because they are talking about the maximum minimum of velocity. So therefore, this is 2m square minus 12m plus 10 equals to 0. M square minus 6m plus 5 equals to 0. M square minus 5m minus m plus 5 equals to 0. M minus 5. Be very, very careful with the part related with middle term factorization. Minus 1, m minus 5 equals to 0. M minus 5, m minus 1 equals to 0. Therefore, m is equals to positive 5. Therefore, m is equals to positive 1. But what is m equals to? M is equals to root t. So root t is equals to 5. T comes out to be 5 square, which is 25. Root t equals to 1. Therefore, t comes out to be 1. So therefore, there are two values, which is 1 and 25. But the question is not over yet. What are they asking for? The question is for 7 marks. Just look at this. It's for 7 marks. So now I need to calculate this thing, the velocity. So now dA by dt is already given. And there is one thing that I did. That is minimum velocity and this thing. Now let me calculate which one will give the minimum or the maximum. So therefore, the second derivative of velocity, which is dA by dt, whatever that quantity is. So therefore, this thing would be 2t would become 2. And this would be 12 root t. So that would be minus 12. This would be half t minus half. So therefore, this is 2 minus 6 over root t. This is the second derivative. This portion, the 10 becomes 0. When t is equals to 25, the second derivative is 2 minus 6 over root 25. When t is equals to 1, the second derivative of velocity, which is the first derivative of acceleration, this is 2 minus 6 over root 1. So this is 2 minus 6 over 5, which is 1.2. This comes out to be positive, and this is 2 minus 6, which is negative. This one is giving a maximum. This one is giving a minimum. Therefore, this value is to be accepted, and this value is to be rejected. And last but not the least, what are we calculating? We are calculating the minimum velocity. So now plug in, I need some space. Now plug in t is equals to 25 in velocity equation. Use a calculator, and definitely the answer will come out to be, how much is the answer given? That is negative 125 meter per second. So now this was not a difficult part, but it was not straightforward either. Let's go through it once more. Show that the minimum velocity of the particle is negative 125. For anything, minimum or maximum velocity, what do? We take out the first derivative of velocity and equate it to 0. So this is the first derivative of velocity equated to 0. That is a disguised quadratic equation from P1, and I get two values. Now, which one to choose? So this one is the second derivative of velocity. So this is the second derivative of velocity. That is actually the v double prime, and this comes out to be 2 minus 6 over root t. I have to plug in both the values. One is giving me a minimum, one is giving me a maximum. I'm interested in the minimum, so I am choosing the value of 25. I'll plug in the equation, and I'll get a value of v is equals to negative 125. Let's look at this question number 7. It says two particles P and Q of masses such and such respectively are attached to the ends of a light and extensible string. This is the string like this. There is a particle P, there is a particle Q. Let me start underlining the necessary info. For P, this is the weight. For Q, this is the weight. And then it says smooth poly, two inclined planes. The particles are initially at rest. So they are initially at rest. And P is on the smooth plane, inclined at 30 degrees. That's already given. Q is on a plane inclined at 45, and they don't say anything about the concept whether the plane is smooth or rough. That means they have the space to maneuver around it. It could be smooth, it could be rough. The string is taut, particles can move, force of magnitude 0.8 Newton. There is an external force of magnitude 0.8 Newton applied to P, acting down the plane, causing P to move down the plane. So now things are pretty much clear. That means this one will move down and this one will move up. First part for 5 mark, it is given that m is equals to 0.3 and the plane on which q rests is smooth. So there is no friction involved, smooth on both sides. Find the tension in the string. Now, let's make two equations. The first equation will be for particle P. So equation for particle P. Another equation for particle Q. And then eventually an equation for the whole system. For particle P, what will happen? 0.8 Newton, it's pulling it down, minus the weight component is also pulling it down. So therefore, this is mg sine 30 minus the tension is equals to mass into acceleration. That is the first one. For the second one, there is a tension like this, there is a tension like this. And weight component, if you want to label, this is mg sine theta, so 0.5 g sine of 30 degrees. Similarly, this is mg sine of 45 degrees. In this scenario, m is how much? M is 0.5. So now over here, tension minus 0.3 g sine 45 is equals to 0.3 a. It's a smooth plane, no other forces are involved. If I add both these up, what happens? This t and this t cancels off. This is minus t, this is positive t. And then it is 0.8 plus 0.5 g sine 30 minus 0.3 g sine 45 is equals to 0.8 a. And then you can calculate the value of a. And the value of a comes out to be, let me grab this thing, this value, and then whatever this comes out to be, I don't have a calculator handy, so and I'll then get a value for the tension. So that is the first part, that is for 5 marks, but straightforward. Let's move on. Now it says it is given instead that the plane on which Q rests is rough. And after each particle has moved a distance of 1 meter, because it is moving as a system. Each particle has moved a distance of 1 meter. The speed of the system is 0.6. The work done against friction in this part is 0.5 joules. Use an energy method to find the value of M, and this is for 5 marks, but the working is worth much more than 5 marks because it's a very, very conceptual work. First of all, what do I need to do? Let me erase this diagram and let me copy it and take it to the other side. So this is the diagram that I'm using, and I can copy it, and let's hope this copying works. Okay, this is working perfectly fine. Now, let me enlarge this thing. It says it is given instead that Q is rough, and we are now looking for the value of M. Now, first of all, the very first thing that you need to realize that this, when they say energy methods, that means the work energy principle. So work energy principle, that is what they are talking about. There is an external force involved. That means the equation that we will be using will be this: work done by external force, that will be equal to change in potential energy plus change in kinetic energy plus work done against resistance. In this case, that resistive force is the frictional force. But the new thing, the new scenario is there are 2 particles involved. Okay. So first of all, let me write everything one by one. First of all, work done by external force. That is very simple. That is 0.8 Newton multiplied by 1 meter. That is 0.8 joules. So this is the first thing, and I'll write it over here. This is 0.8 joules. I'm not writing the unit, just the value. Second thing. Now it says there are 2 particles. This one is losing height. Therefore, the potential energy will be negative for this one. This one is gaining height. So the potential energy would be positive. So first of all, potential energy, the change in potential energy for particle P, I'll give it a negative sign from the beginning. That is mg sine 30 into distance along the plane, which is 1 meter. Whatever that comes out to be, I'll just use the calculator in a short while. Change in potential energy for particle Q, that is positive. This is mg sine 45 multiplied by 1. These are two different values. If I grab a calculator, this value is coming out to be 2.5 with a negative sign. So let me write it, negative 2.5, and this comes out to be 7.07 m. So let me write it over here. This is 2.5 plus negative 2.5 plus 7.07 m. That is the first part. This is for change in potential energy. Now let's talk about change in kinetic energy for particle P, change in kinetic energy for particle Q. So they both will be positive because they both are gaining speed. They both will be positive because they both are gaining speed. So this is half, this is 0.5, this is 0.6 square, this is half, this is m, and this is 0.6 square. So therefore, this first one, after the calculation, this comes out to be 0.09 and this comes out to be 0.18 m. So let me write this thing over here. This is plus 0.09 plus 0.18 m. That is the change in kinetic energy. That thing is also done. Now what is left? The only thing that is left is the work done against resistance. That will be positive. So work done against resistance. That is resistor force, which is given, actually that value is given, that is 0.5 joules. So simply write 0.5 over here. That is the first thing. Okay? And this work done against resistance is the overall, because it's only applicable for this part, because this part is smooth. So there was no work done against resistance for P. There is only work done against resistance for Q. Okay? So that is this much. And if you want to add, that's a 0. This is for particle Q. This is for particle P, if you want to write it separately. Now, if you make subject M the subject of the equation, take everything on one side, and after simplification, this comes out to be 0.3737, which comes out to be 0.374. That is the value of M, which is the weight of particle Q.